It's really great to see everybody out here tonight. Thank you all for coming. We got a full house here, don't we? Alyssa?
Thank you, Buzz. All right. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Meet the Candidates Forum, brought to you by the GFWC Miami Springs Women's Club. I'm Alyssa Kandari-Rollins, a member of the Miami Springs Women's Club Civic Engagement Committee. This is our second time hosting a candidate event in this type of format, and we're excited to facilitate a meaningful dialogue between community members and those seeking to serve our city. I want to thank all the members of the Women's Club who helped to organize this forum. The GFWC Miami Springs Women's Club is a 501c3 nonprofit, all-volunteer organization. We've been serving our community since 1939 and are proud members of the Greater Federation of Women's Clubs. You can learn more about our club and all the charities, projects, and initiatives we support by visiting mswomensclub.com and following us on Instagram and Facebook. Civic organizations are the heartbeat of our community. Please reach out to one of our many clubs in the city, get involved, and volunteer. I promise it will change your life for the good. No place is perfect, but we are here today because we know Miami Springs is great. Having a sense of community unites us, which is why being a part of a community can make us feel like we're part of something special. It allows us to connect with people, reach our goals, and feel safe and secure. On behalf of the Women's Club and our community, I want to thank all the candidates today. It takes courage to run for office, so we thank you for your willingness to serve. Now I'd like to present Kathleen Fleischman to oversee the Pledge of Allegiance and devotion.
Thank you, Alyssa. I'd like to present Girl Scout Troop 2209 and 2405, and they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Who knows all the words? Excellent. All right, and who'd like to start? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. Keep up the great work. No. All right. Well, please be seated. We'll just take a moment here for a little inspiration. So let us focus at this moment on gratitude, to be grateful, to think of all the things that we are grateful for, and certainly we should be grateful for all these men and women who are willing to serve. Tonight they're candidates, soon they will be mayor and council, and I think each one of them deserves our gracious gratitude. I'd also like to say I'm grateful for Sam and his team for the Rebeca Sosa Theater and all the work that they do. I think we're all just fortunate, and I'm grateful because I'm living in Miami Springs. So let us be focused on the highest and the best, right thought, right action, be a good audience, and let's start the program. And with that, I'd like to introduce somebody. I've known him for years, and his name is Buzz Fleischman, and he'll be our moderator tonight, and he will explain the format for this evening. Buzz?
Thank you, Kathleen and Alyssa. Good evening, community. I'm Buzz Fleischman, and a proud member of the Miami Springs Women's Club for about 14 years now. Proud to serve as your moderator tonight. This Meet the Candidates Forum. So they're seated by group, starting with those running for mayor on your left. Two candidates were automatically elected since they were not opposed. Councilman George Santine in Group 1, Orlando Lamas in Group 3. Orlando is here, and although he will not be on the ballot, he's opted to participate in this forum so you can learn more about what his views are. And that's important. Because we have 8 candidates and 3 seats, we have a timekeeper. We have 2 timekeepers over here who will alert you when your time is winding down, when your time is up. It'll be 30 seconds and 10 seconds. We'll adhere to strict time limits for candidates and reserve the right to interrupt if responses go over time. And if we do have to go over time, I've got this. You don't want to hear it. So, that's the guy. So all candidates will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. You'll be given a time warning at 30 seconds and 10 seconds. After the opening statements, we'll begin with the question part of the forum. Responses will be limited to 1 minute. And to allow for as many questions as possible, you'll be given time frames at 30 seconds and 10 seconds. Begin the question portion with questions from the Women's Club members and that address various community issues. After that, the candidates will be given 1 minute for a closing statement. So let's keep it professional. If you plan on rushing the stage, let me know so I can stop you. We will not tolerate personal attacks toward candidates. This is your opportunity to speak to your constituents up here and with the community at large. And we have a camera streaming the event as well. Nestor, MiamiSprings.com will record and play this later tonight in its entirety. Brad from the River Cities Gazette is recording some right now and will be streaming a little bit later as well. So you'll be able to put that in toto on the gazettepage.com. Thanks for your participation. So let's start with the candidates for mayor here. Bob, you're first, so you've got an opening statement of 2 minutes.
I'd certainly like to thank the Women's Club tonight for offering us the opportunity to share our opinions and for all of you who are here to hear what we have to say. I was born in Livingston, New Jersey, in a town that was founded in 1813. It celebrated its double centennial back in 2013. But I bridge it to Miami Springs, and we ultimately, after several years in aviation and education, et cetera, here, and currently live on Ibis Avenue. Both of our girls were brought up here, went to the high school together, graduated, and are well-placed after several degrees in professional jobs as we speak. I've had the pleasure of serving on the city council for 16 years, 2 8-year terms each with a break of 2 years in between. I relish that beyond all imagination. I study the issues. My wife tells me sometimes I'm anal because I read sometimes the material twice, but I am prepared. And when I show up on the dais, I represent people and I want to get it right. I'm ready to jump into this again. I still got it in me, I think, and I certainly hope I present myself well enough tonight that I would be humble and appreciative of your vote. Thank you.
Walter?
I want to thank the Women's Club for the opportunity. Thank you for my colleagues that are up here. So Miami Springs is like a little gem, and when you open up Google Maps and you look at it, it looks like this little triangular emerald in the middle of this concrete jungle. How do you ensure that that continues? How can you ensure that it continues to be that oasis in this metropolitan area? The key is in finding the right balance between preservation and progress. As someone who grew up here, I appreciate the idyllic charm and the hometown feel of Miami Springs. We love the quiet areas, the lakes, the miles of walkways, and our beautiful tree canopy. All of those things must be preserved because you can lose it. It can slip through your fingers if you're not careful, and then it never comes back. But preserving doesn't mean that you do nothing. You have to manage progress. They say that the only constant is change. You have to be active. You have to set a good sail to the winds of the changing landscape around us. You have to think about some of the state laws that may be preemptive some of our local decision making. You have to think about the Freedom Park development that's coming up and how is that going to affect our Abraham track and what do we need to do to best position ourselves ahead of those effects. You have to think about why we missed out on annexation. What do we have to do as a city to be a more attractive option if that opportunity comes up again? We have to think about how we can promote sensible growth and development on 36th Street so it's an area that flourishes rather than become dilapidated. So these are the keys to the stewardship of our city, striking that right balance between preservation and progress. It means that you guys have to get the right people on the council, but not only that, you have to get the right person to lead the council. I wouldn't run if I didn't think that I was the most suited candidate for the job, and I hope that you'll find the same thing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Joseph Dion?
I'd like to start by saying thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to the Women's Club for putting on this forum, and for all the great service that you do. Miami Springs is a town with it's a city with a lot of great civic clubs, and in part why I am inspired to run for council. I'm personally a member of the Rotary Club, and it's been a great opportunity. I would like to introduce myself a little bit to you guys. Like I said, my name is Joseph Dion. I've been married to my wife, Melissa, for close to 10 years, and we have a beautiful daughter, Isabel. I've ran a successful small business, and I believe by implementing the things that have made me successful in my business into public service, I will be successful and I will be able to deliver. Those things are listening to the people, putting in the hard work, and staying transparent. I look forward to answering all your questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joseph. Irma Montos.
Good evening. Thank you to the Women's Club for providing this forum. Thank you, all of you, for being here. I have lived in Miami Springs for over 31 years. I also went to junior high and high school, and I have my 50th high school reunion this year, so I've been around for a while. I am an entrepreneur. I created my own business, property management business, which I ran for 33 years. I am also an award-winning author, a speaker, a life coach, a consultant, property management consultant, and a missionary, which is the one thing that I'm most proud of, is being a missionary. I went to Mexico a few times with the Perez fathers to be a missionary, and that's an experience that is priceless. So as you can see, I've done a few things, and I think because of my life experience and my business experience, I'm very well suited for serving the community in Miami Springs. Service is my passion. Being a missionary obviously is a service, and I also serve in my church, which doesn't happen to be in Miami Springs, it's in Pinecrest. But I serve there in several ministries. And I'm also part of the parish council over there, St. Louis. And I love Miami Springs. I was born in Cuba, in Matanzas, and I always call Miami Springs my second Matanzas. So I'm very proud to live here, to be here, and I want to make sure that Miami Springs stays the way it is. Thank you.
Mary Jo Mejia.
Good evening, Miami Springs. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Miami Women's Club for putting together this forum. My name is Mary Jo Mejia Ramos. I was raised in Aventura, but for the past 18 years, I call Miami Springs home. I want to be your innovative voice at City Hall to help preserve our rich history, produce results on ongoing projects, and plan for our next 100 years. I believe true civic commitment comes from not being a resident, but also actively working to preserve and improve our beloved city. Most of you know me from volunteering in several civic organizations, from serving those in need at the Women's Club and proudly elected corresponding secretary, to being an at-large committee member for the planning of the 2026 Centennial Celebration. I am a woman of faith who's active parishioner with the Blessed Trinity Church and part of the Camilla's House Ministry. Also, I have 30 years of professional experience in public service with the Jackson Health System. I began as a temporary employee and proved myself hard worker and hungry to learn. Shortly after, I was promoted to a full-time supervisor of 75 employees whose responsibility was to assist in financial clearance for those seeking life-saving surgeries in surgical oncology, hematology, oncology service. In addition, I worked for the revenue cycle, handling billing, coding, collections, and appeals. I'm a proud alumni of the University of Miami. I earned my BA in 2003 and came back for my MBA in 2011. Thank you.
Orlando Ramos, you're unopposed, so you do have a seat, but people need to know what you stand for. Thank you for being here.
Thank you everyone for having me. I've had the privilege of living in Miami Springs for the past 25 years with my beautiful wife, there she is. And we got to raise 2 boys here. Couldn't have asked for a better place. My plans, what I intend to focus on while on council is managed growth. As an architect, I've had firsthand knowledge of negative impacts on mismanaged growth on communities. I've witnessed cities lose their identity and charm to succumb to pressure of developers, sacrificing their unique character in the process. We have something that I consider very dangerous now that the state of Florida put forward, the Live Local Act, which allows developers to bypass any zoning laws in place if they provide low-income housing. That means they completely go around us. So where I see the biggest danger of this happening is on the Northwest 36th Street corridor. So I think we really need to focus on amending and beefing up the zoning that we already have in place there so we can set the guidelines and attract better developers. We need a seat at the table when this happens. Otherwise, it's just gonna happen around us. Another big issue that obviously we all have here is we have, I believe it's the 3rd highest millage rate because we have such little commercial in Miami Springs. By beefing up the Northwest 36th Street, we can focus on a better tax base, help bring in more money, and alleviate some of the burden that we have with the taxes. Miami has exploded around us, and as Walter mentioned, we remain a gem in the greater county. But as attention grows, so do people come in. So like it or not, we're becoming $1 million neighborhood and really need to take care of that before it's taken away from us and we're priced out of our own neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Orlando. Next, for Group 4, Tom Hutchins.
What a great turnout. Thanks everybody for coming. You know, back in the early 60s, there's a little boy who rode his bicycle on almost every street here in Miami Springs. Even before the 826 overpass was completed over 36th Street. He swam in the Olympic-sized pool that we used to have on the swim team for several years, as well as teaching Red Cross, and run on a track team at the same time during off-season, while competing all across the county. He learned golf at the Miami Springs Golf Course, as well as tennis nearly every day during summertime at our tennis courts. As a youngster, his mother would pick him up from daycare, and we would waddle down to the Rexall Pharmacy, where the old Cozy Corner was, ticker is now, to have lunch, and then she'd take me to her real estate office. As I grew up, he started his own can't read my own writing. Start my own family and start my new life. And I'm one of the sons of Dan Joan Hutchings. I'm Tom Hutchings. That was me the whole time. I've experienced the past of Miami Springs, been being born and raised here from the 60s. I did live here for 20 years to experience a small town charm. I grew up with a small town charm. And that's why I'm running for city council, because I've seen the past and the present that we live in. I see the changes, mostly for the good of the community, some not so good. As a council member, I wish to serve with honesty, integrity, and transparency for the community I grew up in. I'm proud to be a part of a pioneer family and stand by my word. I'm Tom Hutchins and look forward to serving with substance.
Thank you, Tom. And Fabian Perez-Crespo.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Fabian Perez-Crespo. I was born in New York, raised in Miami, where I attended public school. I'm a graduate of Florida International University. I received my bachelor's in journalism communication, my master's in business administration, my certification in human resource management. I'm a 30-plus year media executive working in local, national, and international companies in the US, Latin America, Brazil, and Europe. My wife and I bought a house here 20 years ago, and it's just been amazing. It's just been an amazing experience. We engaged with our neighbors almost immediately. We got involved in our community. This is where we raised our 2 kids. They went to school here. This is where my daughter practiced music at McCormick Music Academy. She did dance at Holly's studio, Starlight. She did puppet theater here, Pelican Playhouse. My son played soccer at VG, did Taekwondo at Ray's, and he's a Boy Scout, where today I am, 10 years later, one of their senior leaders, leading your children and your grandchildren to be tomorrow's community leaders. I also write for the River Cities Gazette. I'm a staff writer and photographer, and this has allowed me an incredible opportunity to connect with the residents and the visitors to our city, to know what they feel about this community, what concerns them about this community. And I'm concerned about some issues in my community. I'm concerned about the overdevelopment, those 3 lots by 36th Street. We don't want that. I'm impressed with what the police have done, how they've enforced the traffic violations. Chief Castillo's doing an amazing job. I want to beef up our 36th Street corridor, our business corridor. That's where our revenue is going to come from. And our quality of life. I want to preserve our quality of life. We deserve to have peace and tranquility. This is what families are telling me as I knock on their doors. And last, protect our tree canopy. Where I grew up in Westchester, I saw how people buy properties, cut down all the trees. Here, that doesn't happen. We're going to stop that. So I look forward to a great evening with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabian. Now let's start the question portion. You have 1 minute to respond to these questions when it's your turn. If you want the question repeated, just say repeat. I'll repeat the question. So our first question starts with Walter Fahed. What is your top priority for our city, and how do you plan to achieve it?
Okay, thank you. I think the top priority is really looking at Northwest 36th Street. It is quite the conundrum. We attract to that area what we allow. We allow hotels and commercial. We have some great hotels, right? But we also have some that are struggling. We've got some great commercial partners, the Miami Realtors that just opened their new building, the Miami Regional University. But we need to really look at what it is that we could do to help that area develop sensibly, but to where it needs to be. It's ideally located. We're at the heart of it all. We can be anywhere in the county in 25 minutes. That should be a vibrant area, similar to how Coral Gables treats that stretch of US 1 that borders them. We need to really have a vision for what we want there, because there are some properties there owned by the aviation department, and we want what they bring to match our vision.
Thank you. Joseph, same question. What's your top priority for our city, and how do you plan to achieve it?
Thank you, Buzz. So one of my top priorities is the high taxes, and I think that it all comes back down to 36th Street, and I believe that once we start working on 36th Street, we bring some good businesses into the area, then it'll be a trickle-down effect, right? and we can focus on the speeding issue on Curtis Parkway, and then it'll move on into the circle. I plan on working together with all the city officials, with the chief of police, and I plan on getting advice from all the experts and listening to the people and delivering on that matter.
Thank you, Joseph. Next, Irma Matos, same question. What's your top priority for our city, and how do you plan to achieve it?
I would like to revisit the annexation that we all voted for and see what can be done with that. It's my understanding that it got stuck at the county somewhere, and it didn't move forward. Because I think that's a very good thing for Miami Springs, to bring those businesses in and increase the tax base of the city. So that will be one of the things that I will be working on.
Thank you, Irma. Mary Jo Mejia, same question. The top priority for our city. What is your top priority, and how do you plan to achieve it?
My top priority is Northwest 36th Street and the Abraham Tract. Nurturing development by diligently studying the developers and their intentions. How would they preserve our city charm? How would they produce results in a thriving community? How would they plan to give back to the community and for the future of our community? Preparing for a bed tax at Northwest 36th Street. Yes, the hotels pay a tax, but not a bed tax. We must reach out and collaborate with our city officials to change those laws.
Thanks, Mary Jo. Orlando Lamas, same question. What is your top priority for our city? How do you plan to achieve it? Now, you're in already, but we need to know what you stand for. So here we go.
All right, not to beat a dead horse, but Northwest 36th Street. We really need to work on beefing up the zoning so we can attract, as I mentioned, better developers, maybe create a master plan. I feel it's not just enough to give them the best option. I think we need to project what we want so we can attract the better people, provide incentives, and really push it along to what we want that'll service us, not just a developer. Because once they do it, they leave, and then we're stuck with it for another 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Orlando. Tom, what's your top priority for the city, and how do you plan to achieve it?
Again, it starts with 36th Street. I believe since the county will not cooperate with us with a bed tax, that we should start our own City of Miami Springs bed tax. We have close to 14,000 hotel rooms over there, and that was at least sufficiently covered the cost of our service, our public services that we serve the county with, including our police and fire department. We spend more of our time over there than we can protecting our neighborhood because of the clientele over there. So if we do the bed tax, we get through Tallahassee or whatever, then that covers that expense, that gives us more protection here in Miami Springs, and keeps our millage sustainable, if not lower.
Thank you, Tom. Fabian, what is your top priority for the city, and how do you plan to achieve it?
Folks, we need to keep an eye on our budget. Money coming in, money going out. Our reserves, our debt commitment, our capital projects that we want to do in the next 4 or 5 to 10 years. And we need to keep our taxes low. Kudos to the council that kept the millage rate below and have lowered it this year. But we cannot sacrifice the services that we have come accustomed to receiving from the city. That is what we need to do on council. How do we balance lower taxes, but not sacrifice the services and the quality of life that we're used to? Thank you.
Thank you, Fabian. Bob, what is your top priority for our city, and how do you plan to achieve it?
Well, I think it's pretty well been echoed here. I'm not going to reiterate. But I will mention further to it, annexation is not dead, ladies and gentlemen. And we have spent tons of money on the city council over the years that I've been board. And we're ready to go. So there's a chance of change at the top and relative to county commissioner. And what I think that we really need to do is start engaging some of these other county commissioners, aggressively. Because it takes a vote on a county commission, it takes 7 votes on a county commission to push it, and we just missed it by that much. So to me, annexation is not dead. Maria Mitchell pioneered the bed tax, it's been mentioned earlier. That's very true. We have no ability to create taxes at a municipal level. It's not done at the county level, it's done in Tallahassee. So that would have to be aggressively approached by our lobbyists and members of the council. And if I'm elected, I will certainly approve. And finally, if I have a minute, because I had something else to say. No, keep it in there.
Thank you, Bob. Our next question, starting with Joseph Dion. Many believe that code enforcement is weak. How much weight do you place on existing ordinances and codes? And what would you do to deter code violations?
So I would work with the experts. I trust our city officials know exactly what they're doing. I will meet with them, and I will also meet with the residents and see what will be the best approach that, for example, like what happened recently with the RV situation. I think that it's very simple. We just listen to the people, and we come back to the city, and we try to find a way to deliver.
Thank you, Joseph. Next, Irma. Many believe that code enforcement is weak. How much weight do you place on the existing ordinances and codes? And what would you do to deter code violations?
That's a good question. Well, I would make it public, I guess. I would somehow let everybody know what's legal and what isn't. I don't know that most people know what they can and cannot do. Obviously, if they don't know, then they don't do the right thing. And so there must be a way that we can inform the residents and then approach it that way, I think.
Thank you. Mary Jo, code enforcement, people think it's weak. How much weight do you place on the existing ordinances and codes, and what would you do to deter code violations?
Stricter code enforcement, change codes to use, for example, drones for enforcement, specifically for complaints only. More code officers. Right now we only have 3 in the city. We require more boots on the road and less eyes. Keep in mind that if we hire more code enforcers, our taxes also go up. To deter, I would think of education to the new homeowners of what can be done and what cannot be done.
Thank you. Orlando, same question. Many believe the code enforcement is weak, and how much weight do you place on existing codes and ordinances, and what would you do to deter any code violations?
As I mentioned, slowly but surely we're becoming $1 million neighborhood, and we need to start behaving like it, show it. I think we have excellent, I think our code enforcement is good. It's just, it's not throttled as per direction, I guess, or it's part of our small town charm. Nobody wants to be harassed, right? We all want quiet enjoyment, enjoy our place. I think we could definitely step it up, but none of the former violations or fines. I think we can start giving warnings, 24-hour, 48-hour warnings for more immediate things, but fines should definitely be the last thing that we impose on our residents.
Thank you. Tom, same question. Many believe that code enforcement is weak, and how much weight do you place on the existing ordinances and codes? And what would you do to deter any code violations?
I know the council, along with the mayor, has been working on trying to adjust on the ordinances so that people, they understand it better. But we need weekend code enforcement. That's where all the suspicious projects start. So, and people know that. That's why they do all the work on a weekend. And we don't need part-time code enforcement. We have to adjust our budget and get some full-timers in here on a weekend.
Thank you, Tom. Fabian, same question. What about that code enforcement? How much weight do you place on existing ordinances and codes? What would you do to deter any code violations?
Well, I've heard so many horror stories from code enforcement. I don't know of anyone who's had a positive experience with code enforcement. What I want them to do is, if you're violating the code, tell me what it is. And you have to apply uniformity across everyone. Now, as Mayor Mitchell said a couple conference meetings ago, people were complaining about lack of code enforcement. Well, okay, we can hire them. How are we gonna pay for them? Are we ready to raise our taxes? And I have to give credit to the city manager. He's going through the city's code and dealing with ambiguities in the city code, and they're there. So once he can clear that up, we can know exactly what the code is, and we should inform the residents. When you move into Miami Springs, we'll just almost give them a handbook. This is what's expected of you, and you need to comply. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabian. Same question, Bob. Many believe that code enforcement is weak here. How much weight do you place on existing ordinances and codes? What would you do to deter any violations?
Well, for starters, you can only do so much with 3 people. That's a given. We could start by looking at possibly adding some part-timers and getting them out there on the weekends. That would be a cost-saving measure going forward. But you know, I think by and large, the codes are generally adhered to by the majority of citizens. The bad actors are the ones that have to be gone after. They have to be identified, and they have to be aggressively identified. There's only so much code enforcement can do. You can't be peeking into people's backyards, for instance. You can't use drones. You'd have a lawsuit like that. So the thing I would do would be to, and in addition, possibly a handbook that could be issued to new homeowners, potential homeowners that come and buy property here, and that could be addressed there.
Thank you, Bob. Walter, same question. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I got it. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree that everything, any accountability always has to come with like clarity of expectations. So I think it's important. Look, we change ordinances all the time on the council, right? And so we just changed the hedge ordinance for safety reasons. That was something that Maria pushed. But like, if you go around, there's a lot of people that it's not being enforced yet, right? So I think that you got to enforce it, because if you're not enforcing it, you're basically endorsing it. All right, so we have that see-click fix system where people can put complaints. I think if it means that we need more personnel, then that's great. But I think also philosophically, and this is something I've mentioned with the city manager, they respond a lot to complaints, right? But if that means, if that's what's happening, that you're passing 3 violations on your way to go see one where you're responding to a neighbor complaint, that's another thing. The state law changed now. You're not allowed to anonymously make complaints. So I think that there has to be a better way of going out and looking for things and taking the time. Remember the days of Cardini.
Days of Cardini. Cardini, we got to add him to the song. Irma, you're next for the 3rd question here. And that question is, available parking in our downtown area becoming more challenging. Would you be in favor of a private garage, paid street parking? Do you have an alternative solution?
You said parking garage, and what else?
Paid parking, paid street parking, or any other alternative solutions? Some have said that we're getting a parking problem here.
Yeah, somebody complained to me about traffic also. Parking garage will be a good thing, I think. No paying for parking on the street. I don't think that would be. I don't think people would like that. So parking garage, if it can be built somewhere in the area, that will be good, I believe.
Thank you. Mary Jo, same question. Available parking in our downtown is becoming more challenging. Would you be in favor of a private garage, a paid street parking, or do you have something else that you're thinking of?
Parking garage, we know is too expensive. We do have one area that we could benefit from that, but it's been proven it will be way too expensive. Keep in mind, Miami Springs is a walking city, business district. The peak times are from 12 to 2 p.m. We can use Coral Gables as a perfect example for parking behind the business, and usually it's a short walk to the front. Miami Springs, we need to encourage the business owners and staff not to park in the front. Those spaces are meant for customers. An ongoing project to execute and follow through the 3-hour maximum parking lot established by the business owners in working hours. There are signs that are being reinstalled, the 3-hour maximum rate currently being installed, and it will be enforced.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Orlando, same question. Available parking in our downtown area becoming more challenging. Would you be in favor of a parking garage, paid street parking, or any other solution?
Yeah, I'd be willing to look into a private parking garage if it's something we can do as a joint venture or something with another group to provide funding, as long as we retain control of the land. But I think it'd also be a good opportunity for police, another police station, and put other civil offices in there. But I think there's a lot of ways we can do major improvements in Miami Springs using other people's money, as long as we retain control at all times.
OPM. Other people's money. Tom, same question. Available parking is becoming more challenging downtown. Would you be in favor of parking garage on street payment, or what's your solution?
I don't think on-street payment is worth it. It's gonna piss a lot of people off. It will. So a privately funded parking garage would work, even though we just reclaimed, 24 or 26 parking spots on Curtis Parkway, which I don't agree with, but that's part of our green space. But that's from the change of ordinances that we gave away for the first developer to come in from City Center.
Thank you, Tom. Fabian, what's the downtown parking, the challenging situation? Would you be in favor of a garage, paid parking? What's the solution for you?
I know what's got residents upset. It's the apartment buildings around the circle and the concern that the residents that are renting there are gonna park on our city streets. And it's valid concern, but we as a city have the power to regulate that. We can prevent overnight parking. We can give it 3 or 5 hour limits to the spaces there around the downtown area, and it's enforceable. Now, a parking garage, maybe where the police park their vehicles behind the post office, but what kind of a garage could it be? Can it be 2 stories, 3 stories? How is that going to disrupt the businesses that are there? And remember, we're a pedestrian-friendly city. We can park a block away and walk to a restaurant. Block 2 walks away. You're walking by stores and restaurants. You're being exposed. I encourage people, if you can, if you're not disability or something, to go out there and walk, park a block or 2 away, see different things. But whatever issues we had with parkings in the past, let's learn from mistakes and move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Fabian. Next, Bob, the available parking situation, parking, paid parking, private garage, what's your solution there?
Well, I don't think we have a parking problem in Miami Springs. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Some of you might be shocked at that statement. We have a convenience problem. And what was said earlier by one of the candidates, it makes perfect sense. A lot of owners and employees are parking right in front of their businesses. And then some of you will show up and try to conduct and there's no parking. Jim Boardman said it best several years ago as the former city manager. He said, I did a study one time. I stood at the gazebo and I marked off half a mile in every direction. And he came up with 1,800 parking places that are accessible to any business in Miami Springs. One thing I will say is we might consider increasing in some small way the handicap parking. I think we're a little lax there. And I think those folks are entitled to be more accessible to these businesses. So again, I think that's, we did a study one time, $38,000 to put a parking lot of 32 spaces there, at $38,000 a space. Neat work.
Thank you, Bob. Walter, same question. Downtown parking becoming more challenging. What do you think? Private garage, paid street parking, alternative solution?
I think Bob was right. I think we are surprised that he doesn't think that we have a parking problem. I've said this before on the council several times. It's not a pejorative to have a problem. We better have a parking problem, because if we don't get a parking problem with that town center, that means that something went wrong. So we need to embrace the fact that there's going to be a parking problem. A parking garage is too expensive, and paying for parking is the third rail of Miami Springs politics. So that aside, what we do have is inadequate access to parking. There's public parking behind the retail stores on Westwood Drive. I would never want my wife parking there and walking back there. That's inaccessible. A plan that I've been discussing with the city manager is along Canal Street. We've got so there's lots of parking there, but you park there, but there's no walkway. You have to go across the street and park through those dusty swales, and it's not very well lit. We have, one of our strong suits is having walkways. Let's do a walkway along the water. People will walk there, have some lighting, landscape. That will do more to pick up that whole area than anything else.
Thank you, Walter. Joseph, same question. What about that perceived parking problem here in Miami Springs? What's your solution?
So I do believe we have a parking issue, and I think one of my top priorities is finding ways to bring down the taxes, and I believe the way to do it is through business development and promoting the businesses that we have. And in order to do that is to make sure that they have adequate parking. But in order to build a parking lot, I think we should sit down with the experts that know where to put it. Because if you think about it, there really isn't a lot of area to build a parking lot. And then also sit down with the businesses and get their idea on what they think. I don't think we should be charging for parking, especially not right now when we're trying to promote the businesses that we have.
Thank you, Joseph. Our next question, and you will each have 1 minute to answer. Mary Jo, you're up next here, and here's the question. Miami Springs used to feel like a safe neighborhood. Now, however, that feeling of safety has somewhat diminished. How would you improve safety in our community?
Safety, and it goes hand in hand with crimes. Cameras such as the one in the Okeechobee entrance can be installed in all points of entrance. When a stolen vehicle passes by, a bullet message is sent automatically to the police department to take action. I will continue support to the police department and Chief Castillo to ensure that we're constantly canvassing the areas. When I first moved to Miami Springs, I would see police just driving around, canvassing the neighborhoods, but now I don't see them. I think we need to get back to basics.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Next, Orlando. We used to feel like a safe neighborhood. That feeling has diminished somewhat. How would you improve safety in the community?
Well, I think the new chief is doing a great job, kind of starting to feel like the old days again. When you look at the statistics, for a small city, you always read for a small city they have a high crime rate. We know that the bulk of that happens along 36th Street. So I believe redevelopment of that whole area, getting eyes on the street there at all times. Because the problem is those businesses shut down 5, 6 o'clock, and then it's just streetwalkers and criminals at that hour. So pushing for redevelopment of 36th Street, kind of mixed use, living quarters where people are there all night, that it's been proven that it diminishes crime rate.
Tom, same question. It's a safe neighborhood situation. How's that feeling of safety? Has it diminished, and how would you add safety to the community?
As I spoke earlier, a lot of our police department spends a lot of time on 36th Street, which takes them off their regular patrols all throughout Miami Springs. I don't think we're lacking safety as a major measure, but we are lacking patrols because they are preoccupied. And the way to change that is fix 36th Street, and so our police department, Castillo's done a great job. He's his new traffic control unit is doing wonderful things on Esplanade and Albatross, let them drive, slowing everybody down, and they see a lot more when they're out and about.
Thank you, Tom. Fabian, the safety issue, how would you improve safety in our community?
I think Miami Springs is relatively safe. We feel safe, we walk our streets, but you know what? Chief Castillo's done a great job, especially when it comes to traffic enforcement. The big issue, 40% of our calls are going to the situation on 36th Street and those motels that are back there. We should be compensated for the calls that we're getting to deal with that situation. And that goes to the tourist development tax, what we call the bed tax. We deserve to get that tax to offset the cost. But kudos to the police, they're doing a great job. New sheriff in town, he's a local guy, he knows these streets, he wants us to know his police officers by their first name, they're engaging with the community, and there's a perception also on social media that they're doing the work that they need to do for law enforcement.
Thank you, Fabian. Bob, same question. We used to feel like a safe neighborhood, but that feeling has diminished somewhat. How would you improve safety in the neighborhoods?
One of my first thoughts on that would be to, I'm sure you all remember, we used to have the block captains and you know, the people that in the neighborhoods that washed out for their neighbors.
Like, that's gonna take time, okay, to get that developed. The issue is that, well, the zone right now on 36th Street allows hotels to go up to 12 stories, but they have to provide their own security, or we have to do it. We don't get a penny of the bed tax. And that's something Brian Avila fought for us during COVID, and it didn't go through, but it needs, it's a state tax, and it affects everybody in the state to give a cut, so it's tricky.
Thank you, Walter. Joseph, same question. What do you think about the safety issue in our community? How would you improve it?
So I've taken the time to meet with the chief and the deputy chief and pick their brain a little bit and see what they think. And I feel great that they are the ones that are in charge. They're doing a great job. Now, it's a loaded question to a degree because when you think about it, right, our county is growing and we can't help what's going on around us, right? If anything, we can control what we have here. And the crime and the population has grown in the county. Me personally, I moved to Miami Springs to raise my family because I want them to be in a safer place, and I do feel a lot safer. As for 36th Street, I think that maybe we could work with the county and try to figure out some initiatives or maybe get some funding to put some extra officers on 36th Street. I also think that we should listen to Chief Castillo and get him some more officers. And I think that it's probably not the biggest problem, but it does cause an issue that we have the central intake for the Miami-Dade County jails right off of 36th Street with TGK. So when they release the people, you know, they just...
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. Irma, same question. We used to feel like a safe neighborhood now, but that feeling of safety has kind of diminished a little. What would you do to improve the safety here in Miami Springs, in your opinion?
Increase the police presence. I already got complaints about vagrants and people sleeping in picnic tables on the park that's on Lee Drive and LeBaron. And the neighbors there feel that there's lack of policing in that area. So it would be increasing the police presence and figure out a way to pay for it, obviously. Getting the county for it, or the state, or I don't know. By the way, this is my first time in politics. Okay? So I may say things that don't make any sense, but I may come up with some ideas that nobody thought of, and we may be able to do something about it. But yeah, obviously it takes money, so we need to find the money. And going and talking about do I have 10 seconds? Oh, okay. All right.
I agree, but you know, really, this isn't politics. Politics is a national issue. This is local. This is all just, we know each other. This is just for everybody knows everybody else. That's just the way it is here, and we love it. We love it like that. Here's our next question. Tom Hutchings, you'll start out with this. How do you plan to address the significant oh, here's the Don Mazzone question. How do you plan to address the significant traffic congestion and speeding in our community, particularly caused by non-residents using local roads as shortcuts and some of the frequent accidents? What do you think, Tom?
I think Castillo has installed a new traffic program, and I believe it's working. He's done a great job with it. There's more officers paying attention. They're on not just Curtis Parkway by the golf course, you know, that's always been a speed trap, but around the circle, they have usually also sitting there. Side streets like Albatross and Esplanade, where they figured it's cut-throughs for everything. And Poinciana, just to get around the circle. It doesn't matter which way they go. And it's gotten out of control, and they're doing a good job of trying to control that.
Thank you, Tom. Fabian, same question. How do you plan to address the significant traffic congestion and speeding in the community?
Well, like I mentioned before, the police department is doing an excellent job on social media, pointing out the work that they're doing to prevent the intersection, the blocking intersection. Does anyone know what a yield sign means? I mean, it's amazing. But when I moved to this city, I had people tell me, don't speed there. Don't you ever speed there. I want that fear of God to come back so people know, don't do it. Don't do it. Now, speeding, I live on Curtis Parkway. I see cars speeding all the time, and it's scary when they're speeding the opposite direction. I like the idea of speed humps in the smaller streets, let's say Duval, where cars sometimes speed not on the main street because first responders is going to destroy the car. Speed humps could be an alternative to the smaller streets where the kids are out there playing. But again, traffic, we've got people cutting through their city. What can we do to stop it? I've heard people say, we should put a toll on the bridge. I'm like, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah, I was going for portable speed humps. You just move them around at night, nobody knows. Bob, so same question. How do you address the significant traffic congestion and speeding in our community, all those traffic issues?
Well, real simple. Banish them from Miami Springs. Those that are caught. No, just kidding. Not a bad idea, though. You got as was mentioned previously, you got the cut through. You got Lene, you got South Drive, you got Curtis Parkway, obviously, and these are the areas where this occurs. I don't know if you folks are aware of this or not, but you don't just ask for a stop sign. You have to go through the county to get a stop sign. We just can't unilaterally put up stop signs or put up speed bumps and stuff. It's got to be agreed to. So it's a process. But many times I've seen where residents have complained about people speeding on their streets, and we've addressed it successfully. As was also aforementioned, the police are doing a much better job. I see them out there all the time, particularly in the last 2 weeks. So that would be it, sir.
Great, thank you, Bob. Walter, same question. How do you plan to address the traffic congestion and speeding here?
Show of hands if you got a ticket from the zone. Still a few of us left. All right, so I remember in high school, my friends lived in Hialeah. I was like, I'm not going to go down there and get a ticket. And then we're going to. And I remember in Medley, they had the signs like, don't even think about it. Like, you get a ticket if you were thinking about it in Medley. Listen, I think everybody understands there's more cars, there's more pressure, there's more traffic, so that makes sense. I know that there is an argument that, well, back in the day, there wasn't a walking path all the way down Ludlam and all the way down Royal Poinciana, all the way down Westward. So maybe there's more proximity to people speeding. They were speeding back then. I think it can be both. I think it can be perception and reality. I think that the new chief is doing a good job. I see them working the detail there by Hook Square for the people that are blocking the box. I will push back because this is something that I learned. When they do traffic details, 80% of them are residents. 80% of them. And then they get calls, hey, my friend. But school zone cameras, in 3 months we get school zone cameras on Ludlam, East Drive, and around the schools, and that will help because it doesn't take police.
Joseph Dion, the speeding issue here.
So there's definitely an issue. I've walked up and down Curtis Parkway, and I spoke to some of the residents, and I would say 90% of the people I talk to tell me that one of their concerns is the speeding issue on Perez Parkway. Now I've met with the chief of police. I have full confidence that he's doing everything he can with the resources that he has to address that issue. I think that maybe what we could do as your council is probably work with the commissioner and try to push back to try to get some extra units from the county to work on 36th Street. Maybe that'll free up some of their officers, or we have to hire more police officers.
Thank you, Joseph. Irma, I think it's a law that it's got to be the police. It's got to be police. Mary Jo, how do you address that traffic congestion and speeding?
Do not dare to speed. There's a very famous sign in Biscayne Park. Those signs have been there since I was a child. The police presence in our neighborhood, in our south of us, always have 2 marked police vehicles in the morning and in the afternoon during rush hours. We could do the same. I want to share with you the police did a survey resulting and found 80% of vehicles passed through school zones were marked 26 miles an hour or higher. The police department has set a task force for speeding, issuing warnings and tickets. Police have implemented a zero-tolerance speeding. Again, do not dare to speed.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Orlando, how do you plan to address the traffic congestion and cut through traffic by non-residents, things like that?
I agree with everything that's been said. I think we need to get our bad reputation going again. I grew up in Hialeah and everybody knew not to cross through Miami Springs. It's a ticket for sure. The incoming cameras will certainly help, but also I think in some of the wider streets we put in traffic circles, and that's also been proven to slow cars down, and it can become a beautification project for the streets as well, so we don't get these long shotgun boulevards that just encourage people to go really fast.
Thanks, Orlando. Here's the next question. We're starting with Fabian Perez-Crespo in Group 4. What's your stance on retaining green space and protecting that tree canopy?
I believe in protecting the tree canopy. I believe that the city should have trees ready to replace when they chop down on city property. Like I said, I live on Curtis Parkway. I've seen already 2 live oaks go down. Still waiting for them to plant the new live oak and water it. And they have to be full-size trees, not little trees. We need to inform the residents of the tree landscaping ordinances. I see a lot of new construction, and there's no green space. There's no trees. Are they planning to plant something? So we need to enforce that, because we are a green triangle when you see us from the sky, and we got to preserve the tree canopy. It's part of my logo. I'm a tree hugger. I firmly believe in what the trees can do for us, the shade that they provide, but we need to get the residents to enforce it and show them how to prune properly. Ask the city. If you don't know how to cut your tree properly, ask someone. They'll come out and help you.
Thanks, Fabian. Bob, what's your stance on the tree canopy and maintaining our green space?
I guess it was a little over a year ago, we lost our Tree City USA. Somebody fell asleep at the switch, and that person is no longer with us for that reason. We got it back, thank God. We've always had a program on council for additional trees. It was always budgeted. We want X number of trees for the next fiscal year, and that's been going on for a long, long time. We don't have a in-house arborist like we did with Tom Nash. Many of you may remember him. So we have to, it's farmed, so we have to bring somebody in for educated purposes. There are ways that we could educate the public better. We have gone through this several times on the council. We've had special meetings on it where citizens that were interested in that type of activity came and learned from it. We could probably reincorporate that again, but everybody that spoke so far is spot on. We don't want to lose that again, the tree canopy.
Thank you, Bob. Walter, what's your stance on retaining green space and protecting that beautiful tree canopy?
So we were spoiled that we had a certified arborist as our public works director. When Tom Nash left, I was on the council, and I said, hey, so what's gonna happen? Because I know the Tree City USA is a rigorous thing. Don't you have to have like an arborist that has to like do a bunch of things? Oh, we have the people that cut the trees, and they have an arborist, and we can have them on retainer, and they can come when we call them. And I get them because there's other positions within the city that are part-time. But what ends up happening is we lost our Tree City USA. And then we didn't know when, and then it said we missed a deadline, then we got it back. But then when you look on the website, like we're not there again. It's always like, it's weird because it's like the previous year's data. So I ended up having to call Tree City USA. They told me, you have to talk to the guy who's the head of forestry of the state of Florida. I called the guy who's actually a really nice guy. And he got me a login to go and see. We missed the deadline, then we got it back, and then we missed another one. So we missed 2 deadlines in 3 years, and that's why we're not on the Tree City USA right now. And I get it. Okay, so we don't have an arborist on file. You don't need an arborist to not miss deadlines. I think it just needs attention. We have a new public works director. I've been assured that we are not going to miss again. That'll go along.
Thank you, Walter. Joseph, what do you think about that tree canopy?
So I think it would be great to get back the title of Tree City USA, and a way to do that is work with the residents. I believe that all of you are very passionate about our canopy, and maybe we could start a committee that could help us find different ways to make this better. From what I've read, having a great green space area, it helps with your health. It cools down the environment, and I've even read that it helps with crime. So I think it's important that we find a way to work together to bring back the Tree City USA to Miami Springs.
Thank you. Irma, what's your stance on the green space and the tree canopy here?
I most certainly want to keep the green green. Keep the green spaces, and perhaps incentivize somehow the owners to plant their own trees in their backyards. I mean, anybody can plant a tree. The city doesn't have to go out and get a bunch of trees and plant them. I mean, anyone can do that from their own home. So somehow get the word out there for people to do some planting.
Good idea. Mary Jo, what about that tree canopy? How would you project it?
I love it. One of the most vulnerable and most important issues we face today is climate change. We want and we need our Tree City USA destination title again. New families moving into Miami Springs do not realize the importance of not cutting mature trees within the property line. Realtors must submit an inventory to the city of the trees. However, code enforcement has not followed through. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Today is the next best time. You do not need the city to tell you to plant a tree.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Orlando, what about the green space in our tree canopy?
I think our zoning code is well set up for the green space requirements. I think it all falls back, as far as it can be, of course, it's iconic to our city and vital. But I think it all falls back to the code compliance issue, where the majority of people don't know what their limitations are, that they're not supposed to cut the trees, et cetera. So I think it's a lack of information at this point. So again, more warnings, or find a way to put the information out there for everybody to know what we're supposed to have.
Great, thank you. Tom, what about that green space? What are your thoughts?
I think the residents, say you bought a house like 3 or 4 years ago, they want to put a new driveway in, but they have an 80-year-old oak tree in front of the house that's in the way of their driveway. Well, that tree's been a lot here longer than you have. So, and we've lost enough trees between our storms and the tornadoes. The last hurricane we had a tornado that started Westwood Drive, went all the way up Ludlam, and took out these huge 60, 80-year-old ficus trees. And some of them were replanted on Westwood Drive, but nobody watered them, so those saplings died. And nobody's ever gone back to replace the trees. So we need to get back and planting more trees and stick with it.
Great. I see the time. It's about 8:15 now. It's about 8:15. We have 15 minutes to go here. So we should start our 1-minute closing statements. And we'll start with Orlando in group 3. 1 minute.
25 years ago, we chose a beautiful community as a place to set our roots and raise a family. That's why I'm committed to preserving our small town feel of Miami Springs by managing growth and reducing crime, promoting economic growth in our town. I believe that I have the experience, the vision, and the commitment to help lead our city forward to ensure that it remains a great place to live, work, and play for generations to come. I look forward to working with all of you. And please, if you guys see me supermarket, downtown, anywhere, please feel free to come up to me and give me your suggestions. I get yelled at by angry construction workers all day long, so a nice conversation will be welcome at any time.
Thank you, Orlando. Bob, 1 minute for a closing statement.
My honorable colleague, Mr. Fahed, sitting to my left, and I are running for the highest elected office in the city. Leadership is key. I can provide that leadership. 41 years in aviation, 25 of it in senior management, 16 years on the city council, and I love to represent people. I'm a man of faith, and I don't wear it on my sleeve. I keep it where it belongs. I respect people. I am always open for suggestions. And if I don't agree with them, I will still respect the suggestions and tell them why. And we'll walk away and part as friends. I'm a personable individual. Those of you that know me know that. And those of you that don't will hopefully soon find out after we win the election come April 1st. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Walter, sum it up.
Thank you to the Women's Club for the opportunity. Thank you for my colleagues up here. The mayor position is essentially equal to anyone else on the council. We have a city manager who's the chief administrator, so really the mayor is just 1 vote out of 5. Has no more power over the ultimate decision being made by the council as anybody else. So what are you voting for mayor? What you're voting for is for someone to lead the council, a person that you can trust is going to be sensible, and it's going to be reasonable, and that's going to be looking for consensus when presiding over the meetings. You need someone who is a really good communicator. You want someone who communicates effectively with the public. You want somebody who's going to represent the city with honor and communicate with and cultivate relationships with other elected officials, locally, other municipalities, at the county level, at the state, at the federal level. I feel that these are the things that are needed, and not only that, I feel like I'm already doing them in my position on the council. I believe that my experience, temperament, and track record make me the best candidate for mayor, my opponent's last name notwithstanding. So.
Thank you, Walter. Joseph, you have 1 minute to wrap it up.
In closing, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for coming out here tonight and allowing me an opportunity to introduce myself, for being so kind to me and my family moving into Miami Springs, and to the civic clubs, the Rotary Club, for letting me be a part of this amazing community and play a role. This is my dream. It's been a dream of mine to live in Miami Springs, and this dream has come true. I'm raising my family here, and I plan on living here my entire life. And I think there's one thing that we didn't touch on is the elderly community. I think that we need to focus on our adult center. I think we need to focus on a vibrant elderly community, because we're all gonna get older, and we definitely need to find a way to help the adult center and the elderly community. In closing, I wanna say thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, the elderly are helping out here tonight. Irma, a minute to close.
I had my own property management company that I ran, and my skills in leadership as a best-selling and award-winning author, entrepreneur, consultant, real estate investor, certified life coach, speaker, and missionary uniquely positioned me to serve our community effectively. I love Miami Springs. I can bring my life experience and my business experience to help manage the community, manage the budget. I had to deal with all kinds of people when I had my own business, vendors, board members, owners, renters, and that I believe gives me a lot of experience that I can share and help the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary Jo.
I would like to express my gratitude to my friends, family, and volunteers. I'm a proven leader. Not only can I do the job, I can execute it with great success. Not only am I a resident, but most importantly, I'm committed to preserving our unique past while working towards thriving economic future with a balanced approach that prioritizes the residents. I ask for your vote. Who will best represent the residents in Miami Springs and the interest in City Hall? That person is me. Because the commitments and service I've already provided to Miami Springs is a sample as to what a future councilwoman can do for you. Help me work for you. Be a part of Team Mary Jo. Follow me at MaryJo4MiamiSprings.com. Reach out to me should you have any questions. I am your candidate for Group 2.
Thank you, Mary Jo. We go to Tom Hutchins. We have a minute to wrap it up.
Who I am? As being an original Springer in this town, you know, I'm committed to this community and all the people here. I thank you all for coming out. I am retired now, so I have nothing but full time to put into my community, to City Council. I've been an entrepreneur several times with different restaurants and bars. I was a union leader for, gosh, many years, and that's where I retired from. And I'm here to serve, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And Fabian, wrap it up.
Folks, what you've heard today from the candidates, our solutions are pretty similar in our answers. But I want you to think about one thing when you go vote for someone to represent you. And that person is not just representing you on council, but is representing the city at the county, state, and federal level. Skill sets are important. Being able to communicate properly is important. And relationship building is important to get the resources we need for this city. You know, Tom's lucky, lifelong resident. Proud of his parents' accomplishments, as he should be. But I've been here for 20 years, and I've done a lot in this community and for this community. This is where my wife and I raised our 2 kids, where I've been a leader with the Boy Scouts for 10 years, a member of the Miami Springs Women's Club, Historical Society, and I've been engaged and involved with the Optimists and the Lions Club. I promise I will do everything in my power to represent you well in City Council. Thank you.
Great. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the sound people up here. Alyssa, you've got some voting information for everyone here.
Yes, all right. Thank you to our Miami Springs Women's Club, to the community, to the candidates here today. And special shout out to Mary, Danny, and Sam from the Pelican Playhouse, who, without them, this would not be possible. I want to remind everybody that the deadline to request your vote by mail ballot for the April 1st general election is Thursday, March 20th at 5 p.m. And as a reminder, every election cycle you must re-enroll in vote by mail. If you have questions, please visit the Miami-Dade County Elections website or call 305-499-VOTE. So, early voting. Does anybody know when early voting takes place? Early, yes. Okay, thank you. Friday, March 28th and Saturday, March 29th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the City Council chambers. And again, Election Day is Tuesday, April 1st at the Miami Springs Golf and Country Club from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And thank you, everybody, and good night.